Hey guys, welcome to this week's podcast episode, and I've got a fantastic guest for you today, Heather Eck. She's a synesthesia artist and color alchemist. We're going to learn all about what that is, but she brings extraordinary color insights, perspective through to her audience, and it's going to be a great conversations on creativity, on business, intuition, and all around a great fireside chat. So, Heather, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. It's nice to connect with you.
Yeah, no, we had connected through mutual so talk about your journey and your story and how you came to be doing what you're doing.
Yeah. So a couple of years ago, I left a very lucrative HR job, pursue my artwork full time. So I have been painting now for just about 7 years and out on my own as an artist for about 5 years, starting right before the pandemic happened. So prior to that, I was in human resources and coaching and was working with people that way and started to kind of notice this gift of color I was seeing around people that had always sort of been there, but wasn't really part of my vocabulary until recently.
Yeah. So what prompted this transformation? Usually sometimes it's could be some big event, could be health, relationship, could be career, could be COVID. So what prompted you to start noticing this and kind of taking it in?
Yeah, you're right. I think a lot of us have to go through like a breakdown or a breakthrough before we kind of
Yeah.
move on to that next mountain of our lives that we start to climb. So I was working at a really great company. I was doing human resources. I had gotten my coaching certification, but every day driving to work, I had to listen to music to kind of pump myself up because I felt like no amount of time off or sleep was going to make me feel less tired. And I liked what I was doing, but I just felt drained every day at the end of it. And I was sort of at this point of teetering on what do I do with my life? I'm somebody who loves to collect certifications for things, and I was kind of running out of certifications to get. And I started working with a spiritual teacher, and we started talking about like what were my gifts and what did I like to do when I was younger, and what was around me all the time. And we talked about how your gifts show up when you're young. And it was like this light bulb went off when she said creative expression. And I like ran to Michael's right away and bought all these art supplies and started painting again. And it felt like this part of me that had been dormant for so long was suddenly awakening. And I found myself like taking days off of work to paint and applying to shows and all of that. And so that was really it for me. After that, I thought I got to move on. I have to find a way to make this creative outlet a part of my day to day.
I love that. And so now moving on, we'll talk about the art as a spiritual journey. So kind of talk about in the diving into the mystical world of art inspired by spirituality. I know you've got allusions to the Bible and universe, kind of talk about, and it's a way to self-discover and grow spiritually.
I think that all of us are creative. I think we're born creative and we sort of put that aside to move on to do the jobs that we think are going to be either the most lucrative or they're going to give us status or that feed our ego. And being creative feeds the spirit. And when you are using your hands for any amount of time, you probably know this too, like it reduces your cortisol levels. And so art is healing in and of itself. When we listen to music, it's healing. We create anything that kind of takes us out of that, like, monkey mind that allows us to kind of be creative for a little bit is
Yeah.
healing for us. And so for me, I started to notice that the color I was seeing around people, I associated it with the chakra system. And I was seeing like an aura or seeing something that was making me go, oh, that person's blue or that person's purple. And what does that mean? And so I started to really dig into myself, spiritually and look at the chakras and what they were telling me, and then trying to kind of piece together this story about how art for me became a communion with a higher power or communion with God. And so I think a lot of us as artists are trying to tell a bigger story or to pull out pieces of ourselves that we share in a very vulnerable way that allows us to be seen kind of spiritually.
Yeah, I love that. And like I said, writing and journaling, creating podcasts, videos, these are very like they may not be very lucrative, but they actually kind of you're building something, so you feel like you're growing and So, the other thing is you talked about this idea of, it sounds like what is the creative flow is like once you get into this flow, you lose track of time and
Mm.
your skills level matches the demands of the task, and you're just yeah, this is what the Mihei talks about in his book Flow. So the other interesting thing is you're using art as healing, and you talk about from canvas to consciousness. What is that?
Yeah. So, you think about these different modalities that exist in our world for healing. I think there are different tools that we can use that make us feel better. If you have a favorite song or a meditation or something that you put on, it instantly makes you feel more relaxed or calm, or it just offers your soul a respite. And for me, that comes through as color. So I've found that when I work with somebody and I'm doing a portrait for them, I'll sort of see where they're dwelling in their body, or maybe where there's an imbalance physically, emotionally, or spiritually. And then I'll come up with what is a prescriptive color for them that offers them a unique way of sort of healing their mind, body, and spirit through what that color offers. So, for example, if I find somebody who's in a grief space, they might come through to me as sort of like a blue gray color. And then I might say, okay, well, let's uplift. Let's find things that make you feel better. So we might start with something orange that's really optimistic, that's really joyful, and that moves them into action, and it kind of moves them into a different space where they might feel more energized and able to kind of find a bit more happiness there.
And you're choosing these colors, is it just kind of do you get any training, or it's just kind of how you feel, and it's kind of you're using your intuition, or using your your higher senses? How do you come up with these colors? You were talking about the flow state, and then so talk about how you decide to choose the colors, and how you decide to for each client.
Yeah. So when I am doing a painting for somebody, I call it a spirit portrait. I'll sit and meditate on their energy or their aura and try to feel into their chakras. And for me, it usually comes through as 2 to 3 colors right away that I see for someone. And then I'll sort of spend some time going through each of their chakras, and I'll see a color and a symbol. And that will sort of tell me a story about where they are or what's happening in their world a little bit. And then I'll do their painting. And so usually the painting comes through with 2 to 3 colors, and it tells a story through the symbols that appear about what's going on in their world. It's a fascinating thing that honestly I feel like you have to see it to believe it. But
Uh-huh.
yesterday I did a portrait for somebody, and I was creating a symbol. I started to paint, and the symbol of a heart came through, but it was an anatomical heart. It wasn't a cartoon heart. And I almost didn't say something to him, but I said, I'm seeing this sort of anatomical heart to me. I see a lot of red around you. That feels like there's something with the physical body, maybe that you're working on improving, or there's something there around your health. And after we finished the painting, he said, I just have to tell you, I just had a CT scan of his heart. He did the sort of test where you can tell if there are clogged arteries or not. And he had just gotten a clean bill of health for his heart. So it was really top of mind for him. He was really excited that he had, become super healthy, and his physical body was something he was really deeply passionate about keeping healthy. And so that came through in his painting. It was fascinating to me that that was captured there. It's really kind of interesting to see how the color I see associates with what's going on in their world. It's like a snapshot.
And these are in-person paintings, or you're painting, or is it like these consultations are virtual, or?
So usually I will ask for a picture of somebody, and I'll meditate on my own and do their painting on their own. But yesterday I did a live session with somebody.
Uh-huh.
So it was kind of interesting to do it right in front of them, and to kind of share what I was getting as I was doing the painting. So it kind of can do it either way, really. But that was the first time I had done that over a Zoom. That was pretty cool.
Interesting. I'm a empath intuitive, but I don't, like I said, I don't have my gifts are not as developed where I can, make a living off of them. And but I've been working with like mediums and psychics, kind of developing and honing that intuition. And what you're describing is almost like, because they do a lot of readings, so they
Yeah.
talk about like health and kind of the energy and the auras, and these are just impressions coming through the higher senses. So, but you're doing it through art, which is really interesting.
Yeah. I love that you're developing that too. I think it's so important. And we all have gifts, but we don't always, take the time to develop them and really pay attention to how often we're being communicated to
Yeah.
throughout just, being alive.
Yeah, and what I love about it is because I'm also a connoisseur of art, and I love these how artists draw inspiration and motivation, and how they create these works of art to create meaning. And a lot of your ideas and your all of your themes are very high, like almost like very artistic. Like it's like it is like because you talk about creativity as catalyst, art of mindfulness, art as a tool for expressing the unconscious, which is as well as so talk about art as a tool for expressing the unconscious and what that entails.
Yeah. So a couple of months ago at the beginning of the year, I did a workshop with a group of folks. We talked about the art of letting go and the art of manifestation. And art is a great therapeutic tool. We can use it for healing in a lot of different ways. And I think just like what's stream of conscious writing, you can kind of do stream of conscious art too. And so I guided them through these workshops where I asked them to sort of think about what are the things you want to let go of? What are the things that you want to leave behind as we enter a new year? And in your mind, as you close your eyes and think about it, what symbol comes through for you or what color comes through for you? And so they were creating these, paintings of things they wanted to let go of that were sort of subconsciously there, but they brought it forward in a conscious way. And they created two paintings, one they wanted to let go of, and one of the things they wanted to bring in and attract to themselves. And I think that's just a really, well, one, it's fun and it's relaxing. And two, I think letting those things out of your mind and onto a paper or canvas or what have you is so healing to you because you're then getting it out, right? You got to get it out of your body. And that's really a powerful tool. I love that.
Yeah, and kind of personally, I documented, I wrote a book about my career transition and just kind of wanted to, set the record straight, get everything in stone, but it was also very healing too because, it and just like writing articles and it forces you to, be concise and produce something that is, it's not just rambling. It's like somebody that can really gain value, can understand it, but at the same time, it's a pure form of expression and also healing too, which is really interesting. Yeah. Then my next question is, what's next for you? What are upcoming projects, themes you're excited to explore about, and kind of talk about like how you draw inspiration? Is it through movies? Is it through books? Is it through meditation? Walks? How do you get that creative juice?
Oh gosh, that's a great question. I think I'm just inspired by the things that happen around us in our world every day. I've got some projects I'm working on specifically related to gun violence and the shooting epidemic that's happening in our country, and so I've done some work around that. And I'm going to continue to do work around that, creating pieces that offer a perspective and also that are intended to be healing for spaces that have had trauma like that.
Yeah.
But I find inspiration from pretty much anything. And I think when I am really thinking about someone, I just did a painting about a friend of mine who was diagnosed with cancer, and I did a painting for her. It was really interesting because I kind of got out of my way and let the thoughts about her and the feelings about her and what she's going through just pour out onto the canvas. And I think that's when I feel like I'm most connected, when I'm thinking about something that's really really personal or that feels really important in my life. That's when I think the most powerful work comes out of me. I have to get my ego out of the way and let God do the painting.
Yeah, I know when I'm out about, I love taking like short clips or just photos and then kind of as these themes or thoughts come up, I try to incorporate them into like a article or into like a social media, and then that's kind of like my way. It's not professional, it's just amateur, but it's just kind of my way of assimilating what's going on in the world and just sharing it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I love that. Like I'll hear a group of words or something and I'll quickly write it down because I think inspiration finds us, and then you have to latch onto it right away or it disappears. And so I'm the same way. I'll take a picture or write something down and then go, oh, there's a poem. There's a poem here that I want to tease out when I've got a minute to sit down and think about it. But I don't want to lose that little bit of inspiration that just hit me,
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. The other question is this as we're coming to the close, a lot of listeners are not familiar with synesthesia, and explain what it is and how it enhances the experience, and what advice would you give to aspiring artists who want to go deeper and incorporate the types of themes that and energy into their work that you do?
So, synesthesia is a term that explains that when you take in information through your senses, they get crossed in your brain. So, if I smell something or taste something or even listen to music, in my head, I'm seeing it as colors and shapes and different things. So, there are a lot of artists who've had this sort of condition. A lot of people have it, but they don't even know. If you say, like, oh, what color is Monday? You might go, oh, Monday's not a color, but I see it as red. So I'll see Monday as a color. And so all my senses sort of get crisscrossed. And so I use that a lot in my work too. But for artists who are wanting to go deeper in their work, I think you have to spend time with your work. I think you have to give it time to develop and not think that every piece that you create is meant to be shown or sold or shared or just for you. Just make art for you. That's a conversation between you and your higher self or your higher power, and just let that become what it needs to be.
I love
What
that.
for you.
Yeah, that's really interesting. It's like you don't have to show it. It's just like kind of just tinker, like what I describe as tinkering and just playing around, and then that could lead to more creative inspiration for, works that you actually show or, do more of. How can people follow your work, reach out to you on socials, check out your social media, etc.?
Yeah, I'm on all the socials as Heather Eck Artist, so you can find me there, and I love to connect with folks there. And then I've got some freebies and goodies on my website at heathereck.com/thank you.
Yeah, and for all the audience out there, let's thank Heather for coming on and talking about art and artistry, some deeper levels, and really fantastic conversation. All of her socials will be in the show notes. Be sure to give her a like and follow, and check out her work. And thanks so much for coming onto the podcast.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.